going on, everyone? 66% of the S&P 500 closed down in the red today, and we have a lot to cover as today's inflation data came in pretty good, and it initially sent the stock market higher in pre-market, and the US even reached a trade agreement with China, but the market is still falling. In today's video, we're going to explain why this is happening and what to look out for next. We have a lot to cover today, so Tom, let's not waste any time and get right to it.
Yeah, what the hell was that move with the SPY today? That was pretty crazy to see the SPY actually drop down as much as it did, especially around the end of the trading day there. I love that early morning optimism, though, with the inflation data. I thought that the inflation data was a very positive thing to see. It came in at 2.4% on the year-over-year rate, which showed that it did jump up by 0.1% from last time, but it came in under the 2.5% expectation, and that's really why we saw that overall move to the upside there this morning. That was a great rip out of the SPY, and of course, though, whenever the market opened, we did get a retest of 605 and then an immediate sell-off right back to the downside to test $600, which is coming back into play for tomorrow, and everybody's kind of scratching their heads saying, well, why did this sell-off occur? I think right now traders are very confused with this overall China tariff trade deal. Right now, Trump actually came out and made a post this morning saying that the U.S. is getting 55% tariffs on all goods imported in from China. China is getting 10% tariffs on goods imported in from the U.S. So, a deal was made this morning. Trump said our deal with China is done, subject to final approval with President Xi and me. So, subject to approval. But nonetheless, I do think that it was very good to see this happen. Obviously, the market wants more answers, though. There's still an overall trade dispute with China, and there's a lot to be said here, and still a lot to be done. I feel like this was just one battle, whereas, there's still an overall war going on.
Exactly. What it really seems here is that with this deal, we'll say, the true fundamental issues were not addressed. And I think that's why investors are selling off a little bit here. It's not that the news is bad. It's just not good enough, especially at these prices, especially considering SPY is around 1% away from all-time highs.
Definitely, Mike. I love seeing that the SPY is very close to all-time highs like that, and I'm a little bit worried that we might be having a double top situation in the short term. If we zoom out a little bit on the SPY, we can see that the all-time high is very close to 613, 612, up around there. Of course, right now, this morning, the SPY did make an attempt to run up there, hitting up around 606.50, very close. So I'll be watching these levels very closely over the next trading day or so. And if the SPY can get some good optimism going, let's say that there are some more trade updates that come out, I think that there could be some good possible movement to the upside here. But at the end of the day, that sell-off at the end was pretty rough, and traders were kind of left confused by this situation. And I think that there's just a lot of uncertainty ahead whenever we're looking at China. So looking at the SPY right now, I do not like the way it closed, and we're going to have to be a little bit careful because there has been this historic rally going on as well. And I think that the market's gotten a little bit overextended over this period.
Definitely. So over the last 41 trading days, the S&P 500 has rallied by 20.4%, which is actually its third largest run since 2000, only being beat out through the COVID pandemic and the 2009 recovery, which was the Great Recession. So to say this recent rally has been historic and strong is certainly no understatement. Some other information that is definitely worth keeping in mind is that we are also seeing a lot of smart money rush into the market, but they're a little bit late. So check this out. Hedge funds bought a record amount of global stocks in May, and this is coming after, you could say, 4 consecutive months of net selling, as we could see on the chart right here. Basically, what we are seeing is hedge funds starting to chase this rally and, just run into the market, even though the market is, a little bit weak, at least as of right now. So, Tom, I think the main question everyone is asking themselves is, as we look at SPY right now, are we going to see more selling, or, what's going to happen next? I know it's an impossible question to, definitively answer, but as we look at the situation right now, what goes through your mind?
Yeah, whenever I zoom out, I'm definitely worried that as the SPY rips up after this V-shaped recovery, that we will start to run into some major resistance up here. There are some big levels plotted up around 610 that I'm definitely watching, where the SPY has hit multiple times in the past and really failed to break out. I know the all-time high is closer up around 612 to 613, but 610 will be pretty crucial. If we do start to see more of a rejection and pullback over the next few days, and what I would look for is a major pullback under $600, that's where I'm going to become a lot more bearish. We can tell in the short term that the SPY had been on a really good short-term uptrend, which was nice to see. There was this really good period of higher lows. And with that move down today, we are now under some pretty big resistance that started to form over the past couple trading days here at 603.50. So I really lean to the downside into tomorrow. There could always be a situation where we get back through some of these key resistances like 603.50. And if that's the case, maybe adapt up towards 605 and then maybe ultimately a breakout. But I'm definitely leaning more down tomorrow. And just given that that possible double top could be coming as well, I think that that's a pretty big situation on top of what traders are feeling about China.
Yeah, like one thing that really bothers me is that we saw two pieces of really good news today. Of course, the inflation data came in better than expected, and we had the China trade deal. And like these two news events were like really you could say really good. Of course, the China deal wasn't perfect, and there still are fundamental issues at hand. But even with these two relatively good news articles, the market is selling off of this. So what it really seems here is that this recent price action has kind of been like a buy the rumor, sell the news type of event, and that's never necessarily like a good thing to see, especially considering the market is so close to all-time highs. It makes it harder and harder to continue this pace of the uptrend. So I think it is a smart idea to at least be willing to adapt to the downside or, look for potential hedge trades. I don't think the market is going to fall off the face of the earth, but I really wouldn't be surprised if we saw a little bit of a short-term pullback, especially given today's price action. As we know, we are in a news and Trump-driven market, so, every day has to be adapted to as new information comes out.
Definitely, Trump could always come out and say anything. I know that they're talking about even more deals getting done with other countries as well, so maybe we'll see some like updates with India or some other countries that could definitely affect things coming out here in the near future. But Mike, I know a lot of people are looking at Tesla stock today. They ended up ripping quite well this morning. They ended up closing up, though, only 0.1%. They did sell off with the SPY in the middle of the day. Everybody's been hyping Tesla up the past couple trading days ahead of this Robotaxi launch that was rumored to happen on June 12th. Well, Elon ended up coming out today and setting a tentative launch date for this for June 22nd. So I'm definitely going to be interested to see what goes on June 22nd. But of course, Musk had to come out and ruin our June 12th rumored date. So expect Tesla maybe to have some shakiness as I would say traders are a little bit disappointed that this event's not happening. But at the end of the day, Tesla still had a pretty good move today.
Yeah, investors have been waiting for this Tesla Robotaxi event for a long time, and it's never necessarily a great sign when it gets delayed like this. Like he said, he's super paranoid about the safety component of this, so I guess you could say that is a good thing that they are prioritizing that. But at the same time, I'm definitely a little bit skeptical to see how this launch ends up going. I know Waymo is crushing it, and that's owned by Google. Tesla definitely has been lagging behind a little bit, so we'll see what happens, but this event will continue to be very important for Tesla stock over the coming weeks because if it ends up being good, it can be like a great sign for Tesla's autonomous driving segment. And at the same time, if it flops, it can definitely be a rough hit for Tesla.
Definitely, and if I see it flop hard back under $300 in the short term, I'll become pretty worried. I thought that recent low down around 270 to 280 was pretty important, so I'll be watching Tesla stock very carefully, see how it plays out after these wild moves with the Trump-Musk feud the past few days. But Mike, whenever I'm thinking about crazy moves the past few days, OKLO has really had some insane movement. Today specifically, they were up 29%. We saw a bunch of different nuclear stocks follow in their footsteps. They're actually getting a contract with the Air Force to power one of their bases in Alaska called the Elon Air Force Base. They're going to be supplying a lot of power to this. It's a long-term deal. Now, there was actually no monetary details supplied here, but at the end of the day, Trump has been helping out these nuclear companies. He signed executive orders that helps boost nuclear power in the United States. And, if you think about it, it's pretty smart that Trump's doing this. We have a lot of businesses and companies, of course, that need extra power. Obviously, as like AI and things like that grow in the military, they will need more power. So I think it's pretty good that OKLO's getting this contract, and shareholders definitely did too, Mike, as it's up 29% today.
Yeah, it was one of the leading tickers. It crushed it. The intraday price action was phenomenal. And as we look at this stock going into tomorrow, what would you say are the key levels to keep on watch?
Yeah, it actually got to $68.50 pretty much at the high of day, right at market close, and that's right ahead of $70. $70 is definitely going to be on watch for OKLO. If we could see a good rip above that whole dollar mark tomorrow, I'm sure people are going to get pretty optimistic with this, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of alerts and a lot of scanners going off if this one starts to break above that high of day from today and 70. So keep OKLO on the radar. This is new all-time highs on OKLO, by the way, so it's an uncharted territory.
Yeah, it's crazy to say this, but back in September of 2024, this stock was trading for under $6 a share, and now we're talking about it at 70. So it definitely moves pretty strongly. It has a lot of momentum right now, and it has news driving this move as well. Definitely keep it close on watch, and it should be a pretty interesting trade setup, not only for tomorrow, but even like the next few trading days.
And there's even a couple other stocks that were moving along with OKLO today. I noticed SMR had a lot of positive price action, up 20%. They're topping out around $42 today, so maybe watch them for a potential breakout tomorrow as well. And NNE, Nano Nuclear Energy, had a pretty good day, up 12%. Not quite as good as the others, but also double topped at 35. So keep a breakout on the radar for these two as well.
Awesome. And then looking at SPY for tomorrow, as we know, today's price action definitely wasn't the strongest. We are slightly above that $600 level, but it's definitely looking a little bit scary here. So what are the key levels to watch here?
Yeah, 600 has to be on watch tomorrow for sure. If we start to rip under 600, that's where I'm going to get a lot more bearish in the short term. And if we do get under there, I will be watching 598, but I'll ultimately be looking more for a move down towards like 597, even like 595 down here to where we started to pop off last Friday. I do think that there's a gap to fill on this short-term chart down to around 593.50 to 594. So a good target down to that range, I think could be a pretty good if we do start to see a much larger pullback come in over the next few trading days. But $600 has to be on watch. And I didn't like this trend to the downside today, Mike, where we had these lower highs coming in. In my opinion, if we start to really like rip back above this trend tomorrow, that's where I'll become a little bit more bullish. But I'm kind of expecting SPY to stick under here. And I think that the 603.50 resistance is the most important level to watch. Like if we end up getting back above there, that's where I'll start to flip back to the upside.
Yeah, and the SPY bounced off this a handful of times over the past few days. It was definitely a key level today and yesterday, so I do think that is a pretty key point. And some other information to keep in mind is that we do have some important economic data set to release tomorrow as well. 1 hour before open, we will have some PPI data. It won't be as crazy important as the CPI data that we got today, but it can move markets depending on how the data comes in compared to expectations. And then this week's earnings lineup, as we know, is a little bit slow, so nothing too crazy going on there. So Tom, how about we jump right into some setups and predictions then? A stock that is close on watch is ticker symbol BILI, and it's to the upside. There was a recent big money trade with this one just a few days ago with the 22 strike call options for March 20th of 2026. The stock popped to the upside with some good momentum today as it moved up by over 8%. The big money trader here is doing pretty well, and as we know, we have that news with China helping to boost this play, considering they are a Chinese company. Either way, it's definitely on my radar, and I really like how quickly this big money trade is doing well after the trader's entry.
Yeah, and I know that BILI was right at resistance, and a lot of people were kind of worried about that. But a lot of times the big money might know something, and we ended up getting a pretty nice rip, of course. And there's a lot of news, supporting a lot of these China stocks in the short term. But yeah, BILI definitely on the radar for me in the short term as well, Mike. With my next setup, or first setup, I should say, I'm looking at Navitas once again. But this time, I'm actually flipping back to the downside. NVTS, I think its uptrend is starting to come to a bit of an end. I noticed today, especially around the end of the trading day, it started to fall under some key support at $8. And we can see that in after hours, it's actually holding under $8 and really failing to break above there. If we continue to stay under 8 for tomorrow, and we can get under that low of day from today where it double bottomed at 766 or 765, then watch this one to the downside. I think that NVTS has been awesome the past few trading days. Don't get me wrong. I've been enjoying the uptrend as much as the next guy, but I do think that there is this pullback starting to happen in the short term, and we have seen some of these stocks become pretty overextended. So I'm just watching for a slight pullback over the next few trading days with NVTS.
And with how much it's been running over the past couple of trading days, this can really just be expected to a certain extent as well. So good stuff there. I will also keep it close on watch. And another ticker that is on the radar for a potential pullback is Apple. Basically, even with the good China trade deal news and with their worldwide developer conference this week, the stock is still pretty weak and it fell by around 2% today. The stock is sitting right around that 199 area. And I feel that if a stop was put right around that like $200.75 area, it would make for like a pretty good risk reward playing it to the downside. I wouldn't be surprised to see Apple get to like the low 190s depending on how this momentum develops. So either way, it's definitely on my bearish radar, but this can take a couple days to play out.
Yeah, and Apple is starting to sell off in a pretty massive way. I mean, a 2% dip for them is pretty bad, and to see them pull under $200 is pretty brutal. There was 125,000 sellers stacked up on the Bookmap at that $200 level today before they ended up getting wiped out. They tried to come back in, but as we know here at the end of the day, it ended up breaking down under there. So keep your eyes on Apple. That's a pretty bad move under 200, and shout out to Bookmap, of course, for the X-ray vision. I know that was one of the most requested ones today with all the action going on. But with my next setup, I'm looking at HIMS to the upside. HIMS has been consolidating a little bit over the past few trading days. We can see that there's an upper end of this range up around $58 to $58.50 where that wick extended to yesterday. If we can see a good breakout up above that range, I'll be watching for HIMS to the upside again. I know that this stock going to the daily chart is pretty high in the short term. I really do like the way though that it's holding this bottom support around 51.40 in the short term. I would have expected a red day today and maybe even a breakdown of that support if we were going to be breaking down. So I think that this continuation and hold today was a good sign, and I'm definitely watching that upper range for a potential continuation on that daily.
Awesome. Sounds good. HIMS normally does have some pretty good movement. So good stuff there. And besides that, Tom, let's jump right into today's momentum plays. And with the first one, we have Occidental Petroleum, ticker symbol OXY, to the upside.
Yeah, if Oxy can break out above 45.20 right at recent resistance, then watch them up.
All right, with the next one, we have Nano Nuclear Energy, ticker symbol NNE, also to the upside.
NNE double top today right at 35, one of the better movers today, up 12%. So if they break 35, watch them up as well.
And then with the last one, we have Chewy, ticker symbol CHWY, to the downside.
Poor Chewy with their earnings today. They're sitting right at $40 support. If they pull back under $40 tomorrow, watch for an earnings continuation down. They fell around 11%.
All right, so keep a close eye on these stocks for potential continuations tomorrow. These are only setups if they break through the levels listed. But besides that, we are all clear for today's $1.23 million big money trade. And we are looking at ticker symbol YUMC. Today, the trader here bought the $47.50 strike call options that expire on January 16th of 2026. For those of you who don't know, YUMC is Yum China. They have like the exclusive rights to operate brands like Pizza Hut, KFC, Taco Bell, and other brands in China. And with the recent trade deal news, looks like a trader here is getting bullish going forward. These options do have a fair amount of time to them, and they're not like that far out of the money. So it looks like the trader is definitely looking to capitalize off of like the broader uptrend throughout the rest of the year. It's a very interesting setup. I like how there's news backing it and how there's a lot of time to it as well.
Yeah, and YUMC actually has a pretty big gap to fill too, like right up to around this $50 to $51 range overhead. That'll be a pretty big level if we do start to see YUMC pop. This has a lot of time to it, around 5 months left, so definitely be willing to give it some time to maybe shake out around the bottom of this range before we do start to see a really good move up. It seems like that this stock has been coiling over the past few months, and I'm definitely waiting for it to like break that coil and get back to the upside there. And I do like this lower support that it seems to be coiling off of too, around $42 to $44. There's been a ton of bounces and holds there.
There we go. So let's keep a close eye on this going forward. And if you are new to the channel, welcome, and consider destroying that subscribe button so you can get our videos recommended to you more often. Every single day we cover big money trades just like this one, the most important news, information, chart setups, and basically everything you have to know about the market every single day. So again, if you like our videos, definitely subscribe and you'll get them recommended to you more often. But we also have to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Shy Fresh, who posted some great gains today. We can see he said, as it's always preached in the daily videos, be able to adapt in both directions, and he posted some nice $275 in gains with some SPY puts, which is great to see. So huge shout out to you, Shy Fresh. Keep on rolling. And guys, don't forget, we do have that PPI data set to release 1 hour before the market opens tomorrow. Stay adaptable. The market definitely is strong overall, but again, we are seeing a fair amount of profit taking come into play. And as we know, we are in a Trump news-driven market, so keep a close eye on everything related to that front as well. Thank you all so much for watching, and let's crush it in the market tomorrow.